What drives people who pay tens of thousands of dollars to climb to a place where every breath could be their last? Ambition? A thirst for fame? Or something more? The story that took place on Shishapangma in the fall of 2023 doesn't offer a clear answer, but it does show what mountaineering becomes when records become more important than life, and when the line between sport and madness is completely erased. Shishapangma, or Gosainthan if you prefer, is the 14th highest peak on the planet, 8,270 meters above sea level. Located in Tibet, on Chinese territory, it remained practically inaccessible to foreigners for many years. Chinese authorities were extremely reluctant to issue climbing permits, which is why Shishapangma became the last of the 8,000ers to be summited. The first successful ascent occurred only in 1964 and was, unsurprisingly, accomplished by a Chinese expedition. In the half-century since then, only 21 people have died on the slopes of this mountain. By the standards of high-altitude mountaineering, this is not a lot. For comparison, in 2023 alone, 18 climbers lost their lives on Everest. The low mortality rate is explained by two factors. The Chinese authorities are still stingy with permits, and the routes to the summit are considered relatively straightforward. In climbing circles, Shishapangma is sometimes even called the easiest of all the 8,000ers. Although the word easy at an altitude of over 8,000 meters sounds almost like a mockery. But in recent years, a new wave of record fever has begun in the world of high-altitude mountaineering. There are almost no unclimbed peaks left, and athletes have to come up with new ways to make history. In 1986, the legendary Reinhold Messner completed the all-14 8,000ers project, and did so without supplemental oxygen. It took him almost 16 years. 16 years of preparation, ascents, acclimatization, and waiting for weather windows. It was a marathon at the limit of human capabilities. In 2019, Nepalese climber Nirmal Purja shattered this frame of reference. He summited all peaks above 8,000 meters in 6 months and 6 days, a world record that seemed unattainable. What took Messner a decade and a half, Purja accomplished in half a year. The mountaineering community was in shock. Some admired him, while others spoke of commercialization and the loss of the spirit of alpinism. Then, in 2023, Norwegian climber Kristin Harila went even further. She completed the list in 92 days, exactly twice as fast as Purja. An absolute madness of speed and endurance. 3 months of a continuous race across the most dangerous peaks on the planet. However, her record sparked a storm of criticism. It was said that Harila was flown by helicopter directly to assault camps, bypassing tedious approaches. That a huge team of Sherpas worked for her, forging routes, fixing ropes, and setting up camps. That without one specific person, this record would have been impossible. This refers to Tenzin Lama, a very strong Nepalese climber who accompanied Harila on all her ascents. Formerly, he was a commercial guide, so his name rarely appeared in headlines. Western media wrote about the Norwegian record holder, while the Sherpa's name was relegated to footnotes. But it was he who provided the technical capability for this race. It was his experience, his knowledge of the routes, his ability to work at altitude without oxygen that made this frantic pace possible. Remember this name. Tenzin Lama would become one of the key figures in the tragedy that occurred on Shishapangma. However, Harila received the main wave of negativity due to another incident. A video appeared online showing her team literally stepping over a fallen Pakistani porter. A man is lying on the slope, needing help, but no one stops. The climbers walk past, one after another, as if you were just a rock on the trail. Ultimately, the porter dies. The videos spread across the internet, and the public was furious. To be fair, it wasn't just Harila's group that stepped over him. Several other teams also passed by, and no one tried to bring the injured man down. An uproar ensued. The narrative was that for wealthy Western climbers, local guides are expendable, tools. Records are set on the blood of the poor from Nepal and Pakistan. But here's what's important to understand. This incident is notable only because it was caught on camera and caused outrage among people far removed from mountaineering. Everyone who climbs above 8,000 meters into the so-called death zone must realize that they might not come back. And help, most likely, will not be coming. At this altitude, the body is dying. Brain cells die from hypoxia. Lungs fill with fluid. Fingers lose feeling. Each step requires an effort that, under normal conditions, would suffice for a full day's work. Do large commercial groups abandon their porters? As we can see, they do. Do Sherpas abandon their clients? Unfortunately, that also happens. For example, in that same year, 2023, on Everest, several Sherpas turned around and descended to base camp, leaving their paying clients to die on the slope. This happens. It's another matter that Harila's group was large, experienced, and technically could have helped that porter. But they didn't. But that's not what this is about. Kristen Harila's example proved to be contagious. Several ambitious climbers immediately rushed to collect all the 8,000ers for themselves. Climbing turned into a race, into a business, into a sport for social media. Among them were two American women, Anna Gutu and Gina Marie Rositalo. On October 7, 2023, both were attempting to summit Shishapangma. And for both, it was the final 8,000er on their list. That day, more than 50 people set out for the summit. Why so many? Because the weather window, the period when the weather allows for a relatively safe ascent and descent, occurs only a few times a season. Sometimes it's just 2 or 3 days in all of October. Miss it, and you have to wait until next year. Or you might never get another chance at all. Among those 50 were many who were aiming to complete the list or had already completed it and were now pursuing personal records. Nirmo Purja himself, for example, or Mingma Galje. These guys had already climbed all the highest points on the planet and now wanted to do it without supplemental oxygen, because the all 8,000ers record is no longer impressive. Something new is needed, faster, higher, more dangerous. But our interest lies with the two American women. Anna Gutu and Gina Rositalo were competing to become the first American woman to complete the list of all 14 8,000ers. And as it happened, Shishapangma was the last one for both of them. It's understood that whoever reached the summit first would claim all the glory and media attention. Sponsorship deals, book deals, TED conference appearances, all of it goes to the winner. No one is interested in second place. The conditions that day were, to put it mildly, not good. It was cold, 40 degrees below 0 Celsius, including wind chill. It was windy. Gusts knocked even experienced climbers off their feet. And most importantly, a lot of fresh snow had fallen, dramatically increasing the avalanche danger. This snow hadn't yet settled or formed a crust. It lay as a loose, unstable layer on top of the old snowpack, a classic avalanche situation. Meanwhile, Tenzin Lama was on the mountain, the very same Sherpa who had set the world record with Kristen Harila. Instead of resting after that frantic race, he apparently decided he needed to strike while the iron was hot. His media profile had soared, and his fees had risen along with it. Previously, he might have earned $5,000 to $7,000 per expedition. Now, the sums were in the tens of thousands. Just a few months after his record, he had already led commercial groups on Manaslu and Dalgaliri. And now he was attempting Shishapangma, this time as Gina Ruzidlo's personal guide. Originally, Gina was climbing with another company, Climb Bay. Tenjin worked for Summit Treks, and they weren't supposed to cross paths. But upon arriving at base camp, Gina announced that she needed the fastest and most experienced Sherpa, and she was willing to pay big money. Apparently, she hired the star Tenjin, although this was, to put it mildly, not legal. The thing is, the company with which a commercial climber has a contract is responsible for them. It's the company that gets the permit from the government, is responsible for safety, and for granting permission to climb. And most importantly, it can turn a client back if the Sherpa see that continuing is life-threatening. It's a system. It's not perfect, but it works. But here, it seems money settled the matter. The American woman took a Sherpa from another team, and now it was unclear who was responsible for her. The formal chains of responsibility were broken. Macedonian climber Sashko Keskinov, who was also on the mountain that day, commented on it this way: "Leadership is crucial in such situations. Clients often offer Sherpas large sums of money to keep working despite the danger. That's why a true leader is necessary, someone who can make the right decision and turn the team back down in time. But when tens of thousands of dollars are at stake, making such decisions becomes harder." There were many strong climbers on the mountain that day, and many of them were chasing records. It can't be said that the American women's goal was something out of the ordinary. Rather, it was about personal ambition. But Shishapangma was the last peak for many. Sirbaz Khan and Naila Kiani were hoping to become the first Pakistanis to complete all 14 peaks. Adriana Brownlee was aiming to become the first British woman and also set an age record. Ming Magyarja and Nirmal Purja were finishing the list without oxygen. But for no one was the competition as fierce as it was for the two American athletes. It was palpable even in base camp. Tension between the teams. Short, dry greetings. Sideways glances. Sherpa Ming Magyarja, leader of the Imagine Nepal team, recalled, "It was a terrible expedition. I didn't expect it to turn out this way. At first, everything went smoothly, but the competition between the two ladies spoiled everything." He has been working in the mountains for 20 years. He has seen a lot, but never anything like this. Italian climbers Mario Vielmo and Sebastiano Valentini said that everyone on the mountain in those days understood perfectly well that the upper section was extremely dangerous. A large avalanche had come down there just the day before. It was seen from base camp, a huge white wave roaring down the slope. The Italians were in the first base camp from October 5th to 7th and witnessed what was happening. Here's what they say about the conditions. From October 4th to 5th, it was snowing at altitude. Heavy, wet snow that didn't stop for hours. It was warm in base camp, so the snow melted quickly. But by our estimates, about half a meter of fresh snow fell at Camp 4 and above. On the morning of October 7th, the upper slopes were hit with severe frost and wind. The kind of wind that rips tents and carries people away. Wind, fresh snow, cold, the perfect cocktail for an avalanche. Moreover, on October 5th, 2 days before the tragedy, several rope teams were already caught in an avalanche. People fell about 100 meters, tumbling down in the slushy snow, but they survived and didn't even suffer serious injuries. Pure luck, a warning. Despite this, on October 7th, more than 50 climbers began moving toward the summit. The weather window was closing. It was the last chance of the season. If not now, then never. And so people went. Against common sense, against experience, against the obvious signs of danger. The Italians recall, "These American climbers chose the wrong route. They headed straight for the most avalanche-prone sections of the slope. You could say it was a real race. They both simultaneously chose different paths instead of breaking trail and forging a route together. Obviously, each was trying to overtake the other. Each wanted to be first, even if only by a few minutes." Gina chose a direct route to the main summit, the same one Nirmal Purja took in 2019, shorter but more dangerous. A steep slope, a lot of snow, high risk. Anna Gutu initially took the classic route, via the ridge to the central summit, longer but safer. But then she stopped for almost an hour, apparently realizing that Gina was overtaking her. Then she abruptly changed course and moved straight up the slope, taking a shortcut, ignoring the danger. At an altitude of 7,600 meters, many climbers turn around and begin their descent to base camp. They see the avalanche-prone conditions and decide not to risk it. The ascent is called off. Life is more precious. But not for the American women. They continue upward, step by step, breathing through oxygen masks. The cold constricts their muscles. The snow gives way under their crampons, but they keep going. And at an altitude of about 7,800 meters, avalanches begin to break loose. And it wasn't just one avalanche, but a whole series. Huge waves of snow flew down, sweeping away everything in their path. Quiet at first, a faint rustle, then a rumble, then a roar that makes your ears pop. The first avalanche hits Anna Gutu and Ming Marita, the Sherpa roped to her. It happens around 11 in the morning. The snow hits them with such force that it breaks their bones. Then it drags them down, twists them, buries them. The second avalanche comes down about 2 hours later, around 1 in the afternoon. It sweeps away Gina Rizudlo and Tenjin Lama. And here is the most important part. When the first avalanche hit, burying Anna and Ming Marita, Gina and Tenjin's group saw it. They were higher up and watched as the snow engulfed the people. They saw the avalanche carry them down. They heard screams cut off mid-word. But they continued their ascent, as if nothing had happened, as if it weren't people, but just rocks falling somewhere below. This raises the main question. What made such an experienced guide as Tenjin Lama continue the climb instead of turning his client back down? What was going through his head? What was the calculation, the logic? Did he think they would be luckier? Or did the money prove stronger than the instinct for self-preservation? Unfortunately, we will never know the answer. Other Sherpas speculate that it was due to the ambitions of the wealthy client, who might have promised to significantly increase his fee for a successful ascent, to double it, to triple it, to turn one expedition into a year's income. The first avalanche strikes at 11 in the morning at an altitude of 7,800 meters. The second around 1 in the afternoon. It buries Gina just 80 meters from the summit, the goal for which she came here, for which she paid tens of thousands of dollars, for which she risked her life, was less than a minute's walk away. 80 meters, 5 minutes of slow climbing. Maybe 10. She was so close. Climbers lower down the slope are also hit by the wave of snow. Ming Majalja, who was slightly below, immediately begins a rescue operation. Without hesitation, without panic, simply doing what needs to be done. He tries to dig out the victims, working non-stop and without supplemental oxygen. At such an altitude, this is a true feat. Every shovelful takes as much energy as an hour's work under normal conditions. Here is how he remembers it. As soon as the snow settled, we rushed to dig out those who were buried. Our hands wouldn't obey. Our fingers were numb, but we dug. When I was rescuing Karma Jalje, my rope almost got tangled in his gear. I was pulling him and the rope was tightening into a noose. I managed to free his boots, but then I slipped and fell. I tried to stop myself twice. I almost succeeded, but my body was already too tired. My muscles wouldn't hold. I kept sliding, gaining speed. As I was falling, I saw a large rock ahead. Black, sharp, sticking out of the snow. And I realized, if I hit it, I would break all my bones, or puncture my chest, or smash my head. I tried to go around the rock during the fall. I pushed off with my foot, turned my body, and it worked. I went past it, literally by centimeters. Then I still hit other rocks, but they were in the snow. The impact was softer. That's why I survived. Mingma Gyalje indeed survived thanks to incredible luck and the help of another climber, Dawa Drona Gurung. He found him fairly quickly, unconscious and without a pulse. His body was cold, his lips were blue. But Dawa Drona began resuscitation. Sashko Keskinov, a climber and cardiologist who was also on the mountain that day, recalls, Dawa Drona told us that he performed cardiopulmonary resuscitation, chest compressions at an altitude of almost 7,500 meters. Each compression took his last reserves of strength. Fortunately, after a few chest compressions and a few breaths, Mingma responded and regained consciousness. Amazingly, he slowly stood up, refused further help, and began to descend. Even though just a minute before, after hitting the rock, he had experienced clinical death. As a doctor, I still don't understand how it's possible. Mingma Gyalje returned to Camp 2, trembling, exhausted, and bloodied. His jacket was torn, his face was covered in abrasions, but he was alive. The next day, he walked to base camp on his own and got on the group bus to the border. 8 hours of jolting over mountain roads with broken bones. At a hospital in Kathmandu, a CT scan showed a fractured skull and a fractured tailbone. And yet, this man had descended on his own from an altitude of 7,300 meters, an altitude from which even healthy people do not always return alive. His story is a separate lesson in the willpower that Sherpas possess. But the American climbers and their Sherpas were much higher up the slope. There was no chance of digging them out. The avalanche buried them. Meters of snow, tons of pressure, no air, no way out. Nepalese climber Nare Okano remembers the women this way. I didn't know Anna well, but she gave me her hand warmers when I was freezing on Nunga Parbat. Just like that, without being asked. She saw I was cold and gave them to me. From that moment, a friendship began between us. Gina called Anna an Instagram climber, saying she was chasing likes, not summits. But I think Anna was just a sweet girl who wanted to prove something to herself. After we summited Cho Oyu and returned to base camp, things got really bad. Gina had left for her climb just a few hours before, but for some reason the local authorities detained us. They checked our documents, asked strange questions, then problems arose with the yaks. Suddenly it turned out they weren't ready to carry our gear. I have no proof, but members of my team suspected that Gina might have instigated the officers to stop our group to delay Anna's ascent so she could set the record first. Maybe it's paranoia, or maybe not. To get Anna there on time, we had to leave most of the gear that was supposed to go down to base camp. We took only what was necessary for the climb, the bare minimum. Both women were so focused on the competition that they lost control of the situation. The whole team suffered because of it. If they had gone together, broken trail together, belayed each other, everything would have been different. They would have survived. I am sure of it. It's such a shame that we women don't know how to support each other, especially in places like this. Another American climber, Tracy Metcalf, also noted that the competition between the women went beyond all reasonable limits. Here are her words. "I think Gina was very motivated to be the first American woman to climb all 14 peaks. For her, it wasn't just a sporting achievement. It was an identity, a way to make a name for herself. She was very surprised at how quickly Anna managed to catch up to her. After all, she was a novice in mountaineering. She had only started a couple of years ago and already had 13 8,000ers under her belt." This bothered Gina a lot. "I think there are people now who are getting into mountaineering for perhaps not quite the right reasons. Things like social media attention, popularity, sponsorship deals. They bring in the wrong kind of people. People for whom the mountains are a backdrop, not the meaning. I enjoy the beauty, the silence, the feeling of being on the edge of the world. And that's the reason I do this. I don't need these competitions. I don't want my name to be written in blood." The result of this ascent was that 4 climbers, in pursuit of ambition, were swept away by an avalanche. Their bodies have still not been found. They remain there, on the slope, under meters of snow and ice. Perhaps in a few years, the ice will shift and someone will discover their remains. Or perhaps they will remain there forever. Tracy Metcalf said it best. It was a lesson, though not a new one. It's that the death zone is no place for competition. Records mean nothing if you're no longer here. You can be the first American, the first Asian, the fastest, the youngest. But if you're dead, what difference does it make? 2 Sherpa climbers who had brilliant futures also died while doing their jobs, in pursuit of their clients' ambitions. Tenzin Nama could have become a legend of Nepalese mountaineering. He could have trained a new generation of guides. He could have started his own company. But he remained on the slope of Shishapangma because he couldn't say no to a wealthy client. This story caused a huge stir. The Chinese government banned climbing on Shishapangma for the rest of that season. The loss of such renowned Sherpas shook the mountaineering community. In Kathmandu, relatives of the deceased guides held protests. People demanded changes to the system. There has been growing talk that guides need to be given more rights and leverage over their clients, so that they can turn a group back without the client's consent if they see danger, so that they don't become mere tools for achieving someone else's records, so that their word carries weight and isn't bought with a wad of dollars. Recently, Kristen Harila, the same Norwegian with whom Tenzin Lama set the world record, announced that she plans to retrieve the body of her former partner from the slopes of Shishapangma. She launched a fundraiser, hired a team, received permission from the authorities. However, most people perceived this announcement as an attempt to generate hype. Experienced climbers agreed that it is a futile and extremely dangerous undertaking that would cost more lives. Recovering a body from 8,000 meters is an operation that requires dozens of people, days of work, and immense risk. And most importantly, it risks the lives of Sherpas who already die far too often because of their clients' ambitions. Many suggest that the money raised for this expedition should be given to Tenzin's family. That would be more honest and practical. His children were left without a father. His wife without a breadwinner. They need real help, not symbolic gestures. So this is the sad story of ambition, competition, and the price that is sometimes paid for a place in history, for a line in the record books, for a few thousand likes on social media. Shishapangma continues to stand. The snow on its slopes still lies in a loose, dangerous layer. Weather windows remain rare, and people still climb to where every breath could be their last. The race has not stopped. It continues.